Good evening, Shaggy SoCal Tour for Forza, and time for next week's track guides. I'm not sure I may only do one because I don't know that there's much of a track guide to be done on the Eagle Rock Oval. Maybe I'll just do the mock race and talk about what I'm doing as I'm racing. But um, this week's tracks is we will have the shortest track on our schedule and the longest track on our schedule. We'll probably we'll both have their own unique challenges, but we're here at VIR Grand West. It's the layout that car and driver always uses for their lightning laps, which I was a bit obsessed with back in Forza 6. I got a whole YouTube playlist on that. But um, yeah, VIR Grand West has one thing this car loves to do, which is a nice straightaway to accelerate in a straight line and everything else this car doesn't like between medium and high speed corners, elevation changes, and then that really technical inner loop for the Grand West layout. So this is really going to be about it's less about how fast you can go, more about how few mistakes you make, because we're all going to make mistakes here. Especially, I always do the test drives, and then more. I try to do more favorable conditions for the races, but heaven help us if it rains. But maybe we can convince Matt to just put the thumb on the scales a little bit and maybe give us at least no rain, whether it's night or daytime. Maybe still leave that rain. But anyhow, I'm talking too much. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to run a couple of laps just to get myself up to speed. We'll get into this. I've actually turned tire deg back to like normal because the long lap and very high tire deg for what we're going to be running. So we'll get into that later. But again, let me go out, runs a few laps. Then I'll do kind of the track walk, talk about what this car. It's more about what you want to do with this car, because what you want to do, this car won't do. So you kind of have to work with it. So with that, let's go ahead and start the race and get out there. The cutscene of racing on the front stretch, and then the next shot is the car just stationary. But I always prefer the standing start, especially because I still have the gear shift hooked up, and the rolling starts always mess with it because then it doesn't know what gear it needs to be in. So we'll do standing starts. I am running the hard tire compound just because, again, the tire deg's really high here, so it won't make sense. It wouldn't, even if I had the deg turned up, I wouldn't be able to do more than a couple of laps even on the hard tires. Kind of going to lift up the WeatherTech sign, turn in. Tires are still cold, pushing a little bit, so we'll take it a little bit easy on this lap. Now go ahead and use the runoff here. Third down to second is optional if you feel you need to get more turn in. Short shift back to third. Balance, 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 balance. Go ahead and abuse this curving. Abuse the curving. Here's the first fun section. Fun. Is the climbing S's. I'm just going to let off the throttle and just kind of let gravity help me. And it's still a little bit late there. I'm still working on the timing there. Be careful of the outside curbing. Be careful, no outside curbing over there. And again, I can't talk and drive at the same time. Second gear for Oak Tree. The one thing this car does well, it's a straightaway and it's accelerating. All right, braking for the hairpin into the inner loop. I'm going to brake halfway between the cones. Could probably brake a little bit later, but again, I want consistency, not out. Consistency is more important than outright pace. Brake just before the elevation change, and make sure you hit that straight as possible. Use a lot of curb there. Hug the curb here. You can punch the throttle a little bit if you want to help rotate the rear end. Brake just as you get to the cones. Use a lot of curb. Use a lot of curb. And just stay to the edge here. Third gear, and this is all about just balancing the car in third. kind of use some of that off throttle oversteer to help rotate back the car. Punch it, curb, brake should transition back onto the main circuit. Second gear, that's a little bit late of a turn in for me. Short shift, well, not short shift to third, shift to third. I probably shifted a little too early, but okay, the other thing is we're all used to being like holding like the inside line here to make this turn. Well, this car's got enough push in it where if you're not careful, you might find yourself going off on the left side because the car won't turn. So we'll do one more lap here. Gear, ease off the throttle, brake at the apex, release at the new tarmac. Do third gear here, go ahead and abuse the curbing. Gentle, gentle, just balance the throttle, look ahead. I probably shifted a little too soon to fourth, but we'll work with it. Let's try this again. Fifth gear, I'd leave it in fifth, just gonna ease off the throttle. Back end, it's gonna wanna rotate there a little bit. Yeah, still braking a little late there. So I'm still working on that one. I think I got most of the climaxes sorted out for just, lap over lap. And the reason why I'm really just gliding through there is you can try. Well, we'll talk about it on the slow lap here. It's just the weight transfer. If you start trying to do heavy braking through there, and just the slight left-right nature of it can get the back end stepping out a bit, and then you wind up in a tank slapper, and this car, when it catches grass, will tumble quite easily. A bit late. Just work with it as we can. Try and get back into rhythm. All right. See if I do this better this time. A bit of a break there to get into this section, but still just going to try and bounce with the throttle as much as I can. If I do have to give it a little check brake, I can do that. Oh, push, 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 push. It's fine, just work with it. Oh, it's a little too far out. That is not the fastest way through that corner. And the weight transfer started to unsettle the car a bit. Okay. Let's start talking about the slow lap with this car wants. So coming down the front straight, I'm actually going to brake at the very first braking board on the left side. It has a very long braking zone compared to what we've had. Second gear corner for me. I'm going to try and keep it neat and tidy to the inside as the car comes out. Short shift to third. Bring it back across. I like to bring it back across as quickly as I can to the right side, get it set and level. For this next left-hander kink, as I'm getting to the WeatherTech sign on the right side, I'm going to ease off the throttle and turn the car in. Again, the car does not like to do more than, well, the car can't really do two things at once well. It can turn, it can accelerate, and it can brake with relative degrees of success. But if you try to actually ask it to do two of those at once, it's gonna protest. So ease off the throttle. That's going to give me better steering in the front tires turn in, balance the car in. You might even see me as I'm turning in. You might even see me feathering the throttle. Again, it's just about finding that balance to maintain momentum through the corner without it understeering and without being slow. But definitely when I get to the apex, I'm going to brake, and because the angle I take in, it's going to kind of point me to the outside there, kind of lined up with the crane towards the new paving on the outside. You do have to brake, and again, you're still kind of turning. And the second you get any significant braking, the car is going to want to go straight. It's not going to want to continue the arc. So I've got plenty of room here. So what I'm trying to do is get my braking done to where, as I'm getting to the new pavement out here, I can release the brake, and then all of a sudden I'll have steering again. and then I can take the second apex here through NASCAR. And if I do it right, just get on the curbing here, roll back into the throttle gently, and I'm going to go ahead and straddle the curbing on the exit since we don't have track limits, like ticky-tack track limits like we had in Forza 7. Um, this is one of the first corners I wouldn't be surprised if I'm late to the brakes on. Um, again, we've got the sector timing line here. That's a good judge, but I would say braking for this next left-hander is where the kind of the runoff pavement kind of ends and rejoins the circuit. So I would brake about here. And again, for this corner, this left-hander, it is a very sharp. It's a 90-degree left-hander. Depending on how well you've done your braking, you could do it in third. It's not so low in the rev range that you can't get punch out. But if you find that you're late on the brakes or you haven't scrubbed enough speed off, or the car's still pushing, maybe drop it to second, get a little more of the gearing to get some weight on the front of the car. So turn in, use the curbing here. If I'm in second gear, I'll probably shift to third as I get to this apex. This is all about balancing. This kind of you're almost going to treat this like a double apex corner. So I've hit the first one. I'm going to arc the car out. Um, give yourself room on the left side. It is something, and I will raise the hand. I've done it many times myself. Is you get so into like I've got to try and start to get into the throttle and start building speed out that you let the car get a little too wide out, and then you drop left side tires in the dirt, and then it just pitches the car sideways. Now this car might be a little more forgiving because it's all-wheel drive, because it's 4,000 pounds, but it wouldn't surprise me if you hit it and it starts to go sideways, but then you're in the throttle and it starts to straighten out. It's just I would say here, this is still even here, even though you're bringing that car out to the left side. I'm not even trying to get back to full throttle yet. It's just balance, 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 balance. I want to try and arc the car in. Now, this car, in deference to previous cars we've raced in at VIR, you can abuse the hell out of these next couple of curves through I think this is when I say they call it this, is it the serpentine or the snake? I think that's what it is. But you can totally abuse the curbing through these next couple of little S's here. So third gear, as I get here, I'm going to just go ahead and straddle that. Fourth gear, and by doing that, by abusing the curbing, because the car is not going to go completely squirrely, it actually puts me almost pretty much straight out for these next couple of curves. There's other cars that we tend to, let the car go out to the left side and then abuse the next curbing. But if you can abuse this one and it lines you up straight, you'll be able to actually, punch the throttle here and just start accelerating up towards the climbing S's. So let's see, you'll be third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear. Over here, go ahead and abuse this one, bring the car out to the right side. Now, I'm going to talk about what I'm currently doing. We'll see how it evolves as they do more laps here. The climbing S's in this car are treacherous because, this car, it's a boat. But we don't have downforce. So I think we have a front splitter because Voodoo wanted to put the tow hook on the front for cosmetic reasons, but he took all the downforce out of it. We have a rear tow hook cosmetic, but we don't have any downforce on the back of the car. So that does, even with minimal downforce in the front, that means, the back end's going to be very light and very sensitive to the weight shifts left and right. So the less steering and the gentler you can be up through the uphill S's, I think the easier this car will be to, the less this car is going to complain, the less it's going to try to kill you. So what I'm currently doing is, right now I did a couple laps in fifth gear. I may try it in sixth, but as I'm reaching the cones here on the right side, as long as I get in the right gear, as I get to this point, this is where I'll start to gently turn the car in. As I'm getting to the curbing, and this is where it's a confidence thing. We'll see. I'm on hard tires right now. Maybe as I get to the mediums and soft, I can be a little more aggressive. But I'm trying to bring the car over. And I haven't quite scientifically pointed this out, whether it's a normal apex or it's a late apex, but I'm trying to get the car to the left and kind of set straight so that so that my turn here, because I want to keep it to the left side, but what I'm trying to do is as I'm easing off the throttle, is I just want to do a gentle turn to the right, and I want to go straight over this curb, straight here, still going straight, and then as I get to the curb, then I can start turning it back to the left a little bit, straight here, maybe feathering the throttle off and on, and then hopefully, if I do it right, be off the throttle and crest the hill here. This one, at least a couple times I've done it, because I'm off throttle and I'm turning the car, I'll feel the back end want to step out. Thankfully, it's not snappy. You'll just feel the back of the car rotate a little bit. If you have to, you can always roll into the throttle to, get the front tire, get the front of the car to pull you out of the slide. Um, but if you do it right, hopefully you're cresting the hill about mid-track and you can bring the car back across. I'm still working on timing and gearing here. If I'm in fifth gear, maybe I'm in sixth. I'm not sure yet. But as you crest the hill, there's a little bit of a dip. And where that dip is about where I'm going to be braking to try and get this car slowed down here for the left-hander. Um, for me, it is fourth gear, I think, maybe third, depending on how badly I screw it up. But what I'm going to try and do is as the light pole, for me, as that temporary lighting goes out of view, I want to have the car slowed down so that I can release the brake and turn in. It is, if you, because what I want to be able to do is just get on that curving a little bit, roll back into the throttle, and maybe just get to the curving on the outside. The risk is if I turn in too early and I roll back into the throttle, the car's going to understeer and I'm going to go off on the grass on the right side, and it will, again, tires get caught in the grass, it will roll. The other thing I want to point out, and because this happened to me on the shakedown events, as you crest the hill and you're setting up for this right-hander, don't be very careful how far out to the right you go. We don't have any curbing on the right side as far as the entry or outside curbing. We have no help here. So if you're not careful and you accidentally get tires in the grass as you're releasing the brakes and turning in, it's going to snap the car. The back end will snap around. You're going to go sideways, and you're going to tumble down the hill into the side of the wall. So that happened to me. So tricky corner, roll back in, down the hill. As you start to go up the hill, it's usually as you go up, it's the 3-board here I'm aiming for. This is another one. I want to try and get the car to the left side, but I don't want to go so far to the left that as I get to the brakes, I drop tires on the left side and start pitching the car sideways and go straight off, heading into Oak Tree. So ideally, if I do it right, I get the car to the left side here, brake, brake, brake. In third gear for the first half, brake again. This is another one. You'd be very tempted to roll back into the throttle, but you might mess your timing up and then go off because you can't get the car slowed down. Again, this is how you can get to the brakes. The car goes straight. So, be mindful. Don't be like, I can get a little more speed out of it. No, just take it easy on the throttle. Third gear, brake, get it down to second. Line up Oak Tree. You can use a bit of the inside curbing, roll back into the throttle. Go ahead and straddle the curbing on the exit. Use all the runoff there on the left side, and now you're on the back straightaway. Now I usually like to put the car in the middle, and then bring it back across. For me, braking, we have 2 sets of cones here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we knock those cones over at some point during the race. So if you can see the braking boards, at least for me on the hard compound right now, and maybe, braking for me is somewhere, starting at the 4-board, no later than the 3-board if you're looking on the right side. For me, at least right now, my eyes are gravitating. You can see, this part of this access road here. You can see where it changes color kind of about halfway between the 2 sets of cones. That's what I'm looking for, at least right now. Again, depending on race conditions, I may have to look for the 4-board, or I may just have to guesstimate where that halfway distance is between the cones, or halfway in this paved section off on the left side. But that's about where I'm braking. Heavy braking, You're gonna, depending on what you're doing with the wheel, you may feel the back end wiggle a little bit as you get it slowed down. Second gear corner, ideally I like taking this as a late apex. So I may be about mid-track when I release the brakes and turn in. Um, that you can just barely see it off the curbing. You can see kind of the accumulation of dirt there. That's kind of what I'm looking for as far as in like, okay, get the car to the inside. So I want to get the car to the inside just past that. That's the late apex. Roll back into the throttle. And now we start the infield section. Now, when I was doing lightning laps in other cars, usually I would keep the car to the left. And then as we go out of the kink, let the car just naturally come out to the right side and then brake. I don't know if that is, didn't get a lot of sleep last night, I guess. I don't know if that is going to be the best way through there. Again, we're driving an Uber hatchback. I mean, it's a station wagon, so there's not a lot of weight in the back of the car. So, if I'm coming through that, even that little bit of a left-hand kink, getting to the brakes with some steering in might get the back of the car to step out. To compound that, we're also braking right before we go up an elevation change, which is going to put compression on the front tires. And again, if you've got steering in and the compression hits, all of a sudden you're going to go from little grip to a whole lot of grip, and you might either feel the car lurch back to the left, or it may even lurch the back end over a bit more. We'll see how I do as I do the race. So I'm actually trying to find what I'd love to be able to find is the right line that gets the car. Again, it's all about getting coming through that kink, but getting the car kind of straight here and balanced, so that when I go to the brakes, I'm only having to deal with the front to rear weight shift, and not have to deal with anything laterally at the back of the car. We'll see how well I do with that. Probably not well, but again, braking just before the compression here for the elevation change, down to third gear, maybe down to second if I screw it up. But as that light pole and that inner arm coat goes out of view, kind of right about where the little arrow is telling me I got to turn, hopefully I'll be releasing the brake and turning in third gear. Ideally, use a little bit of curbing there, straight down the hill, across. I'm going to totally abuse the inside curbing here. Brake just to get to the inside curbing here on the left side, down to second gear as I put it in reverse. Hug the inside. The car, depending on how much speed I have, it wouldn't surprise me if I get late to the brakes and the nose just pushes a little bit and before the tires grip up, and then it starts to turn. Turn. You can experiment kind of as you see that now. We've got the sector cone there as a guide, but it's positioned right where the curbing, or I guess there's some outside curbing there, ends. Um, if you can figure out how to spot that early, when you see that and you think the car's in position, you can experiment rolling back into the throttle. Heck, even try stabbing the throttle at that point, because worst that'll happen is you'll spin the rears up and you might help get the back end to rotate out a little bit on the way out. Excuse me. I'll be trying that a little bit in the mock race, but bring the car out to the right side. I like to bring now heading into these next S's. I'm going to stop here. The things I'm trying to get my eyes up and look at as best I can. You can see the cones there on the right side. Now, they may or may not be there depending on how well we drive. We may be knocking those over. But what I'm looking for past that is you can see the hospitality tents kind of over towards the front of the front side of the circuit. You see the big tent, and then you see the two small little white peaks to the right of it. So I'm aiming between the big tent and that middle uh, peak there. If I can at least kind of line up with that, you can kind of see it. It's just maybe a little bit to the right of the seam that goes up and crests the hill. From here, that's where I'm trying to aim, because when I'm trying to line up, because it's a blind entry as you crest that hill, you're breaking into it to go into those couple of S's. So if I can line it up here, what I'm trying to do is, as I race up here and as I get to the cones here on the right side, I'm going to brake. And if I've done it right, I'll just barely miss this curbing. Still on the brakes. I'll release the brakes just as I get to the second curbing, and I'm going to turn in and I'm going to totally kill that sign. John will roll in the throttle. I'm going to turn in, going to kill that sign. and then just ease off the throttle, still third gear, and then just kind of balance through this corner. I might let the car come out a little bit, ease off the throttle. So these next couple of corners, it is all about balance. I'm really, unless I've totally messed up, I will hardly ever be on the brakes through here. I might, and even if I do, it'll be like a little check brake just to just throw a little weight on the front of the car and get the front tires to grip. But if you get in rhythm in third gear here, you should just be able to balance the car, ease off the throttle, roll back into the throttle, and just balance it there. The nice thing is, and I will give Voodoo credit for this, the one thing I do like about this car is the lift off, or I call it lift off oversteer, or off throttle oversteer. It's basically as I'm turning, let's say I'm turning left here, if I on the throttle and I come off the throttle, the weight transfer will lighten the rear up, and the rear will kind of want to step out, helps rotate the car a little bit. Um, so that's what I'm going to be doing through these next, at least these next one, two, three, four corners to get out of this intersection. So balance, 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 roll back into the throttle, third gear here. As I get to the cones on the outside, release the throttle, turn in, balance, balance, balance. Clip the curbing here ideally. More often than not, I'll probably be pushing a little bit. Release the throttle here. And what I'm trying to do, it's another Jackie Stewart thing, is never go back to full throttle until you're absolutely sure you don't have to release it. Because you don't want to be doing a lot of full throttle, off throttle, full throttle, off throttle, bounce, 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 and then get to full. So what I'm trying to do is probably about here, about where I know I can see the next two left right curbings here. I'll probably start to roll back to the throttle, full throttle back here, third gear, fourth gear, so I can take these straight. And then I'm going to brake for this for a roller coaster here just as I transition back onto the main circuit. Now, if I've lined it up right, it should just be put me straight on line with where this new patch is of asphalt to make the right-hand turn into roller coaster. As you saw in the demo laps, if I do it wrong, if I'm a little too far over the left, I'm going to drop tires, and that's going to make it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to get stopped and turned. So, we'll see how it goes. But again, fourth gear down to second, turn in, try to get on the curb a little bit, roll back on the throttle, shift to third. And now we're heading down to hog pen. This is the other one I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. I want to try and get the car out to the curbing here on the right side, but I want to try and stay off of it. Again, it's very easy because I'm gonna be trying to do a turn in here left, and I want to make sure I've got all four tires on the tarmac and not risk getting into the grass or getting into something slippery that'll pitch the back end down. So I'm still trying to figure out. I think it's a lift. I'm in fourth gear at this point. It's probably a lift off the throttle to help the car turn in. What I'm trying to do is I want to try and get the car to the inside so that I can just kind of crash the outside curbing here, because I want to be able to brake in a straight line down the hill into hog pen. So fourth gear here, brake in a straight line, down to third, release the throttle as I get to the inside curbing. I want to stay off of it. And here's the risky part. You're going to release the throttle and you're going to be bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to try and a lot of dirt offline on that curbing. I'm going to try not to use any of the exit curbing. And if I happen to get my tires on it, I'm not going to be really aggressive on throttle until I've started to turn in for the final corner and have all four tires back on the tarmac. This is another one where, I wouldn't surprise me if the difference of traction pitches the car sideways. And again, we go off in the grass here. It takes forever to get back on track. So if I do it right, still third gear, bounce, bounce, balance, roll back into the throttle, fourth gear, and then try to get back to full throttle as soon as possible and stay on full throttle all the way out of the corner. And that's VIR Grand West. This is going to be a race not about how fast you can go, but how consistent you can be and how mistake-free you can be. You'll probably pick up more positions just by being consistent than by being fast. And then again, unlike other cars, because of the lack of downforce and the understeering nature on throttle, you might set up a little bit wider for the final corner, and I'm going to call it the final corner, just so that if you're going to go full throttle through it, you open this angle up a little bit so you're not, because again, it's like if you turn in where you think you normally would turn in with other cars, this car's going to understeer and it's going to threaten to put you off on the left side. So just don't take this final kink for granted, because we usually do in other cars. But if you do it right, you'll be to the right side, cross, start, finish, let the car come back out to the left, and then you get ready to brake almost immediately. So that's VIR Grand West. So at this point, I'm actually going to take a risk. It's going to do another experiment with the streaming. I'm just going to let the stream continue, and hopefully I don't get the staticky bit rate stuff that I've had on past broadcasts. But we're going to get into the mock race. So let me get out of this. Let's go exit. We'll go quit race. And I will pull up my handy dandy little cheat sheet just so I know what I need to set up. Okay. All right, we're going to go to advanced setup. And let's go to the Audi again. It's probably going to still be, yeah, it's still there. So we're going to do circuit race, Grand West. Now I'm taking a stab. I actually want to try and get this as accurate as possible. So I'm only going to do 13 laps because I think with bucket delays and tire strategies like that, I think that is about what we're going to run. Because again, I've got an 80-second bucket delay. So if I come in at 33 minutes on the race, then I know that's probably pretty accurate. So starting time of day, we'll go random. Time progression rolling forward, dynamic track rubber 20. We'll take a chance. Again, we'll do random and see what we get on the weather. Hopefully no rain. All the driver tires with the driver tire designs. We're going to say, no, I don't want sport luxury. I want to go any. Audi. This is where I know I need to bump this up to 2021. Audi. That should be the only, because the other one's 2015. So by 2021, that'll make sure that's the right one. And that's fine. Rules, 5X, sport rules, standing, random, number of pit stops. I'm still going to go 3 because well, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about tire strategy here in a second. I'm still going to say, let's see. You know what? I'm going to go 2. I'll mandate 2. And we'll talk tire strategy here in a second. Okay, accept these options. Yes. All right, let's see what we get. Oh, Forza, thank you for being so favorable. Looks like a nice cloudy day. But tell us about VIR. Didn't time it right.
Virginia International Raceway is narrow, so passing can get tight. If you get in trouble, there is plenty of grassy runoff area, but drive straight off. The slick grass can cause your car to spin.
And roll. But that's a whole other Oprah. All right, so let's talk about tire strategy. Again, this is a long lap. It is the longest lap we're going to be doing this season with this car. So it's roughly, it's almost 1 3/4 to twice the length of most of the other tracks we've been to this season. So here's the 60% tire guesstimate for VIR. Soft tire, 2 laps. Medium tire, 3 laps. Hard tire, 4 laps. And we're in a 13-lap race. So it's a long lap. This is kind of one of those, and at least we'll see if it holds true here when I run the race. But when I was running test laps, that 60% mark actually hit, let's say on the softs. I actually got 2 laps done before they hit 60, but it hit 60 about 2 turns into the 3rd lap. And that was kind of consistent with the other 2. It's like I could get fully through 2, 3, and 4 laps on the different compounds. And it was like shortly within the first 3 or 4 turns on the subsequent lap is when it hit 60. So, your mileage may vary. Again, if this is not as much about speed as it is about consistency, maybe you back your pace off and baby the tires, and which is what I'm going to try here. I'm actually going to try and do 10, 10, and 3. So I'm going to try and do 5 laps on the hards, and then be able to do 3 laps on the medium at the end and be able to drive a little more aggressively. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Again, I need to practice. I need to figure these things out. I had a good race at Mid Ohio, but again, I chose a three-stop strategy and finished eighth. So, again, that's the conundrum of starting very far in the back is, I can only my pace isn't quite the advantage it was in previous seasons. I got to be a little smarter. So let's see what we can do here. I'm talking too much again. So car, fuel, and tire. So that's a good thing. So if it is 13 laps, you can do it on a full one tank. You don't have to worry about fuel unless you want to. Again, it might be worth a tenth or two a lap if you want to fart around with want to fart around with with fuel load. Boy, I'm struggling tonight. But let's see. So it goes to 6, about 45. I'll put 45% in, which means if I'm going to do this, it's 45 to start, 50 on the second stint. And if I'm doing 3 laps at the end, again, we have to do it in 10% increments. So yeah, so it looks like it'll be 45, 50, and 30. So let's try that. Start on the hards, tire wear 5X, that's very good. And we'll go ahead and start race. All right. Oh, it's going to put me at the back? Good. Yay. I don't have to drive back. I don't have to worry about that. Nobody behind me. All right. 13 laps. VIR Grand West. Wish me luck. And what's going to help me again, because I start with so much traffic in front of me, that this opening lap will actually make it pretty easy for me to baby the hards here and maybe get that 5 laps out of it. It's going to be that middle stint that's going to be interesting. I wanted to take a look. Excuse me, thank you, appreciate it. Excuse me. Excuse me. Hello. No. They are out to get me today. Please stop, please stop. Up. Look for the tent. A little bit early because of traffic. Get on the outside. Kind of. A little bit of a check brake there just to keep the nose planted. There. Again, it's a confidence thing. You can feel the back end will just step out a little bit. Okay. So it's about, if I can keep it in and around 12% per lap, I've got a shot at 5. laps before it hits 60. If it goes a little over 60, I think I'm okay. I just got to make sure that I'm mindful because hog pen will be very interesting. Gentle, look ahead. Okay, is Crimson Mac gonna brake check me here? So I'm just gonna ease off, give a little space. I should know better. Doesn't take much. So, I mean, if we talk passing, I mean, the obvious, like if you're going to try to set up a pass, obviously, getting a good run and maybe taking a look, for the hairpin here, otherwise known as pitch, is a prime place to get a pass done. Obviously, breaking into turn one. I mean, those are the two obvious examples. Everywhere else, it's more taking advantage of opportunities, of mistakes that others will make. So I don't know I don't think you're going to be able to stick a pass here just because it does narrow up so much, but maybe if someone's a little bit slow, maybe you can hang it on the outside through here, especially on the softer compound. This is another one that's it's a little bit difficult. You'd have to get a really good run out of the corner. Okay, we left front, left. We're still on track. Third, fourth might be good through here. And the other thing, braking line, it's been forever since I've used it in a race, but again, the braking line doesn't account for traffic in front of you. So if you're relying on that to tell you when to brake, you just gotta always think, if you got traffic in front of you, brake a little bit earlier. Oh, that's way wide, almost. Gotta remember to pit at the end of lap 5. Got a little more speed there. look. Okay, this is why I practice. It's a little bit more difficult than I think it needs to be. Well, a little bit. I gotta practice that a little more. I'm trying to think of intelligent things to say while I'm driving, which, you know, much like this car, I can't do two things at once. Or at least the throttle thinking like, oh, I'm okay. And it's like, nope, still need to brake. Okay, eyes up, look for that inside right-hander there. Let's see what this car does in sixth up through here. So sixth, at least just ease off the throttle. Yeah, you know, fifth might. Oh! See, this is why you guys watch the track guides. You get to learn not just what to do, but what not to do. All right, so if I had to suggest a gear, I would say maybe fifth through the uphill S's or the climbing S's is better. Just from, I guess, from a differential standpoint, keeping some, you know, keeping the car a little bit more, you know, I don't want to say on edge, but it, you know, it's almost like you want the car a little more on edge there, so it's a little more responsive. What are we doing on tires? That'll be a time penalty.
Total time penalty is about a second.
If I'm taking that far to the inside to try and make a pass, I got to brake right before I transition back onto the main circuit. As long as I haven't hit 50% yet. Oh, baby, baby. Yep, I think I can get 5 laps out of it. A bit late there, but again, at this point, I'll take late and on the tarmac then. There's another one.
Total time penalty is about 2 seconds.
They are hefty here. Wow. little bit too far to the inside there, but okay. Let's hopefully go to hards again. Custom 50%. Hopefully these next 5 laps will be better than the opening 5. To the right. Gonna break at the second Michelin board there. If everything's clear, now I can get back on the racing line. Third gear, come on. This will be the test if I can actually do 5 laps. On the hard tires, since I'll be essentially doing normal pace on all 5. And that's also assuming no mistakes. Just very little braking. Again, and also trying to do those little gentle brakes when the car's going straight. Late there, so second gear to help get the car turned. It's a little too far to the inside. You want to be careful under braking if you get too far to the right there. That initial curbing as you cross that hill can upset the back of the car as because you're trying to get braking and release right about there, so just be careful. Might need a little check brake just before turn in, just to help get the front tires to grip. Where are we at? 5 laps may be possible, so I may be revising my tire guesstimates. Whoop. As you can see, I'm trying to carry a little too much speed there out of that right-hander. No, not again, not again, not again. Yeah, when the back starts to get light over that hill, the worst thing to do is to try and brake when the back's already stepping out. Excuse me. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a break there before you turn in. Helps get the car turned. Oh, I was thinking about trying to make it pass into turn one. You might be able to six them outside passes through there. It's slow enough. Oh, come on, brake. Come on, turn. Almost went off. Should know better. Let's just take a look and see what happens. Well, yeah, if you want to try and do some side by side, force your way through, you probably could. It's going to be close. Just letting them know you could accelerate. It's just going to be about balancing this car through here. I'm going to run here. It's going to cost me.
Total time penalty is about 2.5 seconds.
Excuse me. Yeah, see how it pitched the car back to the left when I hit the right side curbing there. So you do want to stay off that one as much as you can getting in there. But then the next couple ones, yeah, go ahead and abuse the heck out of them. The earlier you can realize you're in trouble, the better. Not the fastest way through that corner, but you can see, if you get too far out and you drop tires on the outside, even there, as soon as the car got sideways, I just countersteered into it. I didn't touch the throttle or the brake. Just let the car slide and scrub the speed that way. That was way early. And again, give me another half second.
Total time penalty is about 3 seconds.
This is why we practice, so that I don't do this type of stuff in the race. All right. Okay. Go to the mediums. Percent. I think I did that right. It's a 4.2 next to it. I'm like, I only have to do 3 laps, so that should be fine. All right, let's see what we can do.
3 more.
Copy that. I'll try hard mode now. They're definitely easier on the grippier tires. Braking way too late there. Excuse me. Forza glue, excuse me. Yeah, those probably should be a little closer if you're going to attempt to outbrake somebody into one. Second? Oh, no penalty there. Maybe the FRR is taking pity on me now. That's better. Thing with this car, especially going into hog pen, as you're cresting that hill, if you've got any wheel turn and you put significant braking on, just be ready for the back end to step out.
Final lap.
Elbows are definitely out now. So that is VIR in this Audi RS6 Avant boat, understeery, twitchy station wagon. Sorry, couldn't think of anything else funny to say, but uh, it's going to be a challenge. I think this one, I don't know if this is first in the rotation or second. Um, you know, uh, I don't know. Hopefully, part of me hopes it's second, just because I think it's going to be such physical track and requiring a lot of concentration that I don't know that, again, the other one's the oval, which has its own challenges, but it's a little bit, at least, for a single lap or what you need to do is a little bit easier. But anyhow, hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. I would definitely, if you haven't done so already, I would get out there, get on Rivals, get out there and practice, set up a thing against some AI, get some AI out there for you. Just this one, I think, more than any of the tracks, you need to run laps here before Thursday, or you're going to have a very bad time. So again, hope you guys have a good weekend. We'll see you on Thursday. Happy racing.